All right, so it should be live. I mean, at least the intro pages, but they can't hear you yet. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 9 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host ChanmanV, and joining me as always is co-hosting are John Clark, CSN, and Ben Nickel, aka Mr. Bitter. How's it going, guys?
Hi. Going very well.
John's kind of on the phone, so you're gonna hear him. I guess chatting with us on the road, and I think once you get to the LAN center, you're gonna get set up there, right, John?
Yeah. And if I cut out before that, I got 15% battery life. So.
It's all good. Well, we understand. Well, okay, today we have two special guests on here. We have Brent Ruiz, president, founder of ESFI. And also we have James Lampkin, a.k.a. Kennigit, as all of you guys know him as, marketing manager for Team Liquid and teamliquid.net. How are you guys doing, Brent and James?
Really well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just recovering from MLG. So thanks for having me on.
Is this your official title, Ken, marketing manager?
I did.
Yeah, but it's my official title. Yeah.
What'd you think it would be, man?
Official title in esports.
I figured it'd be something like I don't know, Secretary of Treasury.
Secretary of Treasury.
We originally had really joke titles like Executive Vice President of Senior Esports Development and stuff, but then we had to start talking to executives, and we were like, these guys won't understand our joke titles, so we
exactly.
proper ones now.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I figured we would start off the show today, maybe talking a little bit about MLG, because I know Ben, James, and Brent were at MLG, and as a spectator, I thought it was an amazing event. So I kind of wanted to kind of chat with you guys and see what it was like just firsthand for you. You being caster, with Ben actually casting, and James, I know you were probably doing a lot of work there, as well as you, Brent. So yeah, how was MLG for you guys? Why don't you start off, Ben? You did a great job casting, man.
MLG is always a lot of fun, and thank you, by the way. It was a really great event, one of the best tournaments I've ever worked. The Brood War guys were there, and they were exceeding every expectation that I think anybody had of them and their play and their stage presence and everything. The tournament itself was top notch. We had some great runs out of guys like Sase, and then you had, of course, the normal Korean domination with Dongregoo and Ring King. It was a really, really fantastic event. Heart of the Swarm was playable. One of the best tournaments I've ever worked, man. It was so much fun.
Awesome. How about you, Brent? How was it for you?
Well, like all MLGs, it was really tiring and exhausting and all that good stuff. So, couldn't really ask for anything more than that. But yeah, it was really probably one of the better MLGs I've been to. In terms of just the whole ambiance of everything, all the spectators coming out, the multiple competitions. It was really fun from the media aspect, trying to cover everything. We've never really had that before, so in that aspect, it was a challenge, but it was definitely fun.
Just to give the viewers a little bit of sense, like when sites like ESFI work events like this, how many people do you have there? Like you're definitely a content media information type of hub portal. So like, do you have a huge staff that goes and interviewing everybody and shooting video and that type of stuff, or?
Yeah. Well, usually we field like 5 to 8 people at an event, a major event like MLG. But I wanted to make it a point to try and get as many people as I could to this one, just because it was going to be so big. So we actually had, I think it was actually over 15 people there, probably more close to 18 people on our staff. So we had many people there, and we did, of course, it's kind of hard to delegate when you have so many people like that, but it actually went pretty well for us, just it being the first time that we had that many people on the field at an event doing coverage. So our coverage team, they do anything from writing up storylines that are going on throughout the tournament, tracking the tournament's progress, maybe focusing on certain players that are making deep runs, focusing on them, getting interviews with them after they're maybe beat someone or have been eliminated. So that combined with, we're trying to do as much video content as we can every time it goes. So lots of interviews, lots of just general footage and that kind of thing.
Cool. Awesome. How about you, James?
Really, really busy. We knew going in that, like, Hop and I are busy most of the time during just a standard MLG. But with WCS and the Koreans being there, and of course Heart of the Swarm, we knew we were going to be just swamped. And we were at E3 for the days before the event, right. So that kept us going as well. So I mean, I didn't actually see many games. I think I sat down for maybe 2 actual matches the entire event. But yeah, the overall experience I think was pretty good. I still think there's things MLG needs to work on, which I think are being addressed on Reddit and TL right now. But yeah, it was a good event.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, for me as a spectator, I mean, I feel like the streams were plenty. I mean, there's plenty of great matches on the streams this time around with the WCS and open bracket coverage. Like in the past, I think it was all pool coverage, which I didn't like at all because I love the stories that go on in the open bracket. So it was really cool getting to see just all those things kind of kind of manifest itself, and us actually getting to see it live, especially on Friday night, because everybody got to see just all the streams on Friday. But all right, why don't we jump into just more of our show topics? Our typical misconception, the misconceptions, how we always lead off the show. And what we do here, viewers, is we kind of discuss, just all of us, particularly the guests. We try to bring up any kind of misconceptions that are prevalent in the community, and try to clear them up. And because there's plenty of them going on right now in the community. So Brent and James, are there any kind of major misconceptions you think that are going on that you think should be cleared up, and maybe you'd like to address?
Yeah, I'll address one just because it was kind of timely. Excuse me. So with regards to the hacking stuff, I saw a lot of people talking last week about they thought Blizzard wasn't doing anything about it. And luckily enough, I was heading to MLG in the next couple of days, and we have a pretty good relationship with their PR team and their esports team and that. And so I was asking different members of their team, what's going on with this? What are you guys doing? And they knew exactly what was going on. They both told me independently that they'd had, internal meetings specifically about, that Zach kid who got into WCS with the Blink Stalker hack, and they'd had a meeting about Spades. So I mean, they were right on the ball, man. Just because they, didn't say anything public about it, they were still trying to figure out exactly what they were going to do. So yeah, I think the misconception there is that Blizzard just kind of has one big stroke brush for all hackers, and now that they're starting to get more involved with esports and specifically the WCS, it's clear to me that that is not the case. And I asked Ilya, who's the director for all of esports and community, what they're going to do, with hackers, and if they're going to be the judge and executioner on it. And basically, the message I got out of it was yes, and they're going to start enforcing stuff and things like that. So it's a good direction.
Yeah, Blizzard has always kind of done this thing in waves. I've never known them to ban hackers individually. It's always like they'll let it go for a couple of months and then they'll ban everybody.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I expect to see happen in a month or two.
Cool. Brent, any kind of misconceptions you think are prevalent?
Yeah. Well, I guess another timely one is, this whole thing on Reddit about the player area situation at MLG.
Yeah.
I can kind of give another take on that, just coming from a different perspective, the media perspective. I don't know if anyone knows, but you can't, obviously, since those guys have strict rules on players staying inside the roped area. It's the same thing for Crust. So in that regard, it's really hard for Crust to, just because the players and team managers are usually hanging out in the player area all the time, other than when they're going to the bathroom or going to get food or doing like autograph signings and whatnot. It's hard for Crust to kind of get access to those players.
And
so
when you're talking about the player area,
yeah.
Are you talking, just to clarify for viewers, are you talking about, I guess, the area where they're playing all like the open bracket matches, or are you talking about like the practice area where some of the players can warm up?
The tournament area, the open bracket area.
Okay.
So that whole area is roped off. No press can enter that area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard for us to actually get players that way. So everything, as it should be, needs to go through team managers and try and schedule interviews that we need. And
wow,
that kind of brings up another issue with, another just separate issue that I'll probably talk about later today. But it's not just other players that have those strict rules put on them. It's the media, and it's actually really hard for us. They already don't give us enough press passes in the first place, so we kind of have to make do with what we get. And when we send so many people to these events to do coverage of such a big event, we've been doing it forever. It's kind of hard, when you're put in that situation. But we just got to work through it, and I just hope there's the MLG works something out in both of those aspects in the future.
I mean,
do you, Brent? Do you think one thing that they could do would be, and a lot of sports do this, but I know the open bracket's a little bit different. But do you think that one thing that could possibly be done is that once players are done, they're required to head to the some sort of media room for at least 20 minutes, and then if people are there and they want to get an interview with them, they can do it there quickly, and they can do it in one central location. So you guys having to basically hunt down players that are done and try to keep track of every player that's in the open bracket area. Do you think some sort of system in place that would allow that would dictate to players, okay, when you're done with a match, you do need to go check in the media room. You may not have any interviews, but there may be some people that want to get some interviews with you. You're required to give at least 30 minutes after each match, or something like that. I mean, with something like that, could you guys see something like that being a benefit?
Yeah, definitely. I think when NESL did that at their Season 2 event, it was really, really easy to get interviews with everyone just because they brought back every player after they played, pretty much. So obviously with such a big tournament like MLG, it's going to be a lot more difficult. But I think there's still ways. I already have some ideas in my head of how the media can make direct requests to the organizer and they can bring players back. So I think the MLG definitely needs to improve that a lot, and that's definitely one good idea.
Yeah, I think that the major issue right now is that there's just no other place for non-pool play players to go. So for example, like In Control and Rat and Tyler, they weren't in the pool, but they're still popular enough that they get swamped all event long. And I'd mentioned on Reddit that Tyler and I were standing just out kind of in the public area near where all the seats were and having a discussion, and we were interrupted like 8 or 9 times. And I mean, that's cool. It's great that everyone wants Tyler's picture, but there's also no place where they can just decompress if they've just had a match and have another match coming up, except in that area. And MLG's policy has kind of been like, well, unless you're playing, get out. And that makes sense just from a logistics standpoint of there's just not enough room. But they don't have another solution, right? And there's a lot of inconsistencies right now. So I think it just had like, they have a Twitch booth right now, like a VIP area that's open to VIPs and players with that are in the pools. But they need something for not every single player, but players that are going to get hounded or on a reputable team or something like that. And that's basically what they need to do, and allow media to have access there.
Yeah, I think it's really a lot. It's growing pains, like there was a time when, like, walking through and getting swamped by people was really cool and fun and novel, and players and everybody really enjoyed it. Now, after maybe a few events when it's literally impossible to walk from one end of the convention hall to another without being held up for an hour, I think it's becoming apparent that something is needed. And I'm sure MLG is great at addressing these things. I'm sure it'll be looked at pretty closely, and I would wager that by the time Raleigh rolls around, there will be something in order for it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I think it'd be nice too if they roped off each row of computers too, like in that playing area instead of just the entire area, because there were a lot of complaints obviously from spectators, not being able to see some of the matches, and you've always only been able to see like one side of like some of those bigger matches anyways, so it's never really made complete sense. But yeah, that in combination with all those things that you were saying, I think would be just ideal. Okay, well, why don't we go straight into some more topics that have to do with what you guys do, from a regular day standpoint, and more to do with ESFI and TL.net, just hubs and portal kind of issues. Let's start with you, James. Just for the viewers, can you give just your brief history of in esports? I know you have a really interesting kind of progression through esports, and I think it'd be kind of cool for you to kind of start off with that.
So so I discovered Team Liquid in maybe 2000, like late 2005, just randomly, and then kind of didn't return. And then I think maybe in early 2006, I was checking the old Blizzard website, which was the one that was just like a black screen with blue text, for any updates on Diablo 3, and there were none. It was 2006, and I saw a link on there for go check out these videos of the BWWI, and I was like, okay, what's that? And I clicked, and there was a video, and there was this little nerdy kid sitting there with bright blue hair, commentating, and he was super awkward. And so I start watching, and he says his name's Tasteless, and I'm like, okay, cool. Start talking, kid. So he starts commentating this game, and like I'd played StarCraft a bunch, years prior, but kind of let the game go. And then in the back there was this producer talking to him, trying to coax him along, and his name was DJ Wheat, and so they kept having this back and forth where DJ Wheat would try and ask Tasteless questions to, get a discussion going, so it wasn't just dead air. And in the middle of that conversation, Tasteless goes, "Oh man, all the guys on Team Liquid are just gonna flame the shit out of me for being so bad." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that Team Liquid site." So I went back and started reading the thread that people were posting, or had posted about these videos. So, and that just kind of kept me going. And 5 years later, whatever, I'm helping run the site. So, yeah, in between there, I guess my first major project I did was working with the Dead Haji, one of our moderators, on developing what would become TLPD.
Right.
Originally, it was just an Excel file that Haji and I were keeping, and I think one of us has a copy lying around, and we were recording all sorts of bullshit like starting positions and player colors and stuff like that. But, then we kind of like redid it and turned it into what it is now. So yeah, and then from there, I became an administrator, and then once we opened up the office, and we realized that just calling everybody administrator wasn't really going to be good enough, we kind of assigned official roles and areas of where we would focus our attention. And for me, that's marketing, and I kind of break it down to myself as like our internal marketing and our external. And our external is the things that we do with our sponsors, and any sorts of promotions we have going on with third parties. So like the competition we did this weekend with Razer to give away gear, working with Twitch and things like that is all kind of external. And then the internal stuff is how we promote our players and the site in general. And so that's things like the documentary. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of overlap. We have a lot of meetings. So, for example, like when we have the shirts or these hoodies coming out, we'll have a meeting between like Victor and Hotbid Nazgul and our store manager Disciple and I, and figure out the best way to do things. So, it's a lot of brainstorming between us, and we all kind of bring our opinions to the table and then figure out the best course of action. So, it's not all pure marketing. It's some other business stuff and things like that, but I'd say the bulk of my time is spent on those topics.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm at the LAN Center, so I'm going to jump off the call for hopefully less than 15 minutes, and I'll get hooked up to the LAN Center, and I'll get on Skype and let you know that I'm here.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, good luck, guys.
All right, thanks. So, yeah, just to clarify, James, it's always been funny with TL, and you're just doing marketing, I guess, for Team Liquid. Because there's this there's obviously TL.net, and then there's the actual just Team Liquid, right? It always seems like it it's really really closely tied, and I kind of want to get clarification from you as to, do you do more marketing for TL.net? It sounds like you do a lot, most of your work with TL.net versus just just marketing for Team Liquid and the players. Is that true, or?
Well, it's there's a ton of overlap, right? I mean, they share
Yep.
the same name. So I'd say it's probably about 50-50, about where my time goes. Like, for example, like the documentary. So that's a documentary about the team, right? But that's being targeted towards the TeamLiquid.net community, right? It's not just targeted to visitors of Team Liquid Pro. So, you know, there's a lot of overlap there, and the real important thing for us is that we keep a real clear separation between team and site, because you know, like we have an editorial division, of course, and it's really important for us to make it clear that you know, we're drawing this line between the interests of the team and the interests of you know, the site as a whole. And you know, we have a lot of debates about stuff like this. So, you know, just one example is after the last Home Story Cup, Wax Angel, our editor-in-chief, wrote a piece, you know, detailing the event and who were the biggest winners of the event. And it was, you know, this player, he did great on camera. This player was, you know, did great performance, was a breakout star. And now, who were the biggest losers? And there was one player, and it was Liquid Hero. Because, you know, he's too shy on camera, blah, 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 and, you know, he underperformed. And, like, I lost my shit because, you know, my job as marketing manager on the team is just to keep them in a positive light. And so we had this debate back and forth with Victor and Hop and Wax about, you know, we have to balance that and discussing, you know, how we treat our players, because it's an important part of, you know, the site body, but also, you know, maintaining our editorial integrity as well. So, you know, that's where a lot of our time goes, discussing those sorts of topics.
How often do you think you're criticized for that? Because, you know, I can definitely see how there could be, you know, issues with conflict of interest, right? Just with all the things that you just said right there, trying to really separate the two. It's, you know, I mean, is this like a constant thing that you're just trying to, you know, trying to pacify, or is it, you know, is it not as big of an issue as I think it is?
I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think people often look for it to be an issue, but I mean, I can show you lots of. I've noticed recently, like on Reddit and stuff, people like to take language and pull it apart and
yes,
look for bias in the language.
Right.
And I mean, we're you know, one of the things we're being really careful about is, like, as we bring new writers on, is making it very clear, like, you know, even if you're a fan of Team Liquid, because, you know, you're on Team Liquid, it's super important that, like sometimes we'll often even go the other way. Right, we'd rather be overly negative about the team in an event like with GSTL or something if they got smashed, than try and sugarcoat it on TeamLiquid.net. Because the thing with the StarCraft community is, like, everyone is really smart, right? The average user is in college, or, you know, is in their early 20s, something like that, and you can't bullshit people. And I think a lot of organizations figured out that if you try and bullshit, people will see right through you, and you lose all your integrity. And, you know, Hoppid always says that our biggest asset is the loyalty of our community, right, and the trust that we have. So we're super careful about, you know, not abusing that. We don't ask for very much from the fans or from the community or anything like that. So, I mean, overall, I don't think it's an issue. But it's something that you have to be wary of, so that it doesn't become an issue.
I see. You know, with TL.net, right? It's always been just all about StarCraft, you know, for the most part. I mean, if you look at the heading of TL.net right now, it's StarCraft Pro Gaming News and, you know, community and team, right? Given that you know, esports is expanding, and obviously other games are you know, games like League of Legends and others are starting to, you know, become more prominent too. Will Team Liquid ever kind of increase its breadth to those games, or will it always, you know, pretty much be all in on StarCraft?
I don't know. We're looking at other games for sure, but I mean, it's we make our decisions on that sort of stuff really slowly and really carefully. I mean, we're a StarCraft community first and foremost, but we're looking at Dota. We've looked at League of Legends, and what we want to look for is kind of trends between our community's interests, right? So, we're a community of StarCraft players, but we're also just a community of gamers, right? I play a lot of different video games, and all our guys in the office and a lot of guys around the community are playing Dota right now, and they're playing League of Legends, and so we're looking for what do we think is going to make a really good esport long term. Like, is this going to last 10 years? That sort of thing, or is this kind of just flash in the pan? So yeah, it's definitely something we're looking at, but there's nothing super concrete right now. We're just kind of scaling things a little bit. Like, you'll see Dota events and League of Legends events in the calendar, and we're kind of seeing how people respond to that and sort of the traffic that goes there. And of course, we have a League of Legends and a Dota, and even a Diablo 3 forum, and just by kind of introducing those ideas, I think you get a certain number of people on board. And then if we see the interest is there, then we can, escalate it more to things like, TLPD and Liquid PD and stuff like that if it was important enough.
Okay, great. One of the things on TL.net, like, I know a lot of event organizers and players, and even folks like me, like show hosts. We struggle with is marketing our content, right? And TL.net being the StarCraft the StarCraft hub where the community just completely revolves around the site. One of the things that we have to do is we have to promote our events, right? And there seems to be a limited amount of places to promote our event, and that being the event section, right? StarCraft event section or tourney section, and also as well as the event calendar, if you qualify with all the requirements. One of the things I want to ask is that going to be improved at all? Because right now, even when under the StarCraft tourney section, it's a very forum-like. Just everything is a very forum-like model, right? In TL.net, and it's not ideal, right, for when it comes to promoting like a giant, like the SoCal LAN event, just because John's going to be there. I feel like you need this giant, just a lot of. I feel like real estate really to fully market an event, and. Yeah, in general, like, will that be improved at all on TL.net? Because I feel like that's such a major part, in the community, and it has just such little real estate on the site right now.
Yeah. So for us, the we have this discussion a lot with people who run shows and run events, and the thing for us is like our calendar specifically, we don't see that as a tool for people trying to advertise shows and events. Right. That's like a secondary effect. The primary role of the calendar is to show people and community members and people visiting the site, hey, this is a cool event or a cool show that we've vetted that we think you should watch, and it's not going to be a hunk of garbage. And the reason we have standards on there, like, you have to have a certain amount of prize pool, and you have to have a certain viewership, is because the barrier of entry to creating a show or creating an event is really, really low, right? It's not hard to set up a Twitch TV channel, an XSplit, and a few webcams and just have a show, right? Right. So, you can do that in a couple of days, really. So for us, then we have to say, well, how do we show people that State of the Game is a better show than Bob and Joe in their bedroom? And we do that just through the calendar, right? We just have standards there. As far as making the whole process better, I think there's room for improvement on it. As far as real estate and things like that, I think people do rely on Team Liquid a lot, but I think a lot of it also comes down to how well you can create a really good product that people are intrigued by. There's a reason that Day9 does so well, and part of it is being on Team Liquid all the time, but part of it is also just his consistency. Like, he does that show like every day almost. How good his product is, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of other ways you can go about it, like if it's through you're releasing things through YouTube or through iTunes on the podcast network. So I think a lot of people right now, probably 75% of people say, okay, what's our model for marketing this event or this show? Well, we got to get it on Team Liquid. That fair enough. You'll get a bulk, but you still have to sell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can put it on Team Liquid, but that's not going to guarantee you anything. You have to have a product that really entertains people and hooks people right away, because there's just so many options. And so social media and things like that I think really help.
Right. One of the things, definitely shows that, I definitely agree with you. You have to have a very consistent, and good, content for folks to even want to see your show.
Uh-huh.
But, one of the things I wanted to bring up, at least, just a kind of practical example is, for just new shows. Let's say you have a new show that you just started, right? And, and it's a really good show, and it's all about just getting eyes on it. What I end up finding is I find that a lot of people just, because you only have like 5 links on the side there, whether it's StarCraft General or StarCraft Tourney, or whichever section it shows up in, they're just basically just bumping TL thread, just bumping threads for just so it'll stay on, just in that kind of 5-thread range, just that the 5 threads are being shown, and that means like bumping it like every minute basically, because it just gets refreshed so fast, right? It just gets pushed down so fast. That I know. I was wondering if there will ever be will there ever be more more threads shown at once, or just a better way for folks to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that feedback back, right? Like, the one thing we do is we ban actively for people doing that shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Just bumping their threads, and if we see it, then we just take action, and we'll just close the thread and ban the guy, and then you're gone. But I think, like, to give you an example, at one point, StarCraft and Brood War, their forums were mixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we pulled StarCraft 2 out of it, and it was just called StarCraft 2. And then we were like, well, we can't have like everything all in one forum. It doesn't make sense, right? So now we're up to 5, right? And so, the idea that we would have a forum for, shows or something like that is a good one. Up until now, it hasn't been the case that we've had so many shows that it was, totally necessary. But I think we're approaching that stage, so it's something I can go back with.
All right, Ben, you've been quiet, man. Any comments, man? This is unusual for you.
No. I mean, it's just Ken. He's just answering everything pretty well.
Yep.
But I am curious.
Sorry, if I can interrupt, I'll give you an example. Like, Bitter's 10 weeks with the pros.
12.
I didn't know who Bitter was before that. And because he was so consistent with that and making a really good product, I was like, oh, this guy's actually doing something really cool. And then he made a name with himself, and now, look where he is. So it's mostly just consistency and creating something unique that other people aren't doing. And then, a little bit of luck. Sorry.
That's cool.
Yep.
I do have a couple questions, though. And I want to say, so Reddit is like this huge thing in the StarCraft community. It's really taken off, and it's becoming one of the sites that I find that I visit very, very often. Sometimes it's my first stop instead of Team Liquid, because it's just such a very basic view of what's hot in the scene right now. So, what is TL's opinion of Reddit, and do you view it as a threat, or is it something that you're just cool with? I mean, I'm just curious.
We don't see it as a threat at all. I mean, if you look through Reddit, sometimes I go on there, and in the top 10, 4 or 5 links will be to TL. So I mean, traffic-wise, it's not a threat at all. I think it serves a completely different function than TL does. Something is on Reddit one day and it's gone the next. It's kind of a barometer for the state of the scene right now, and I think Team Liquid fills a bit of a different role in that. There isn't one topic that is particularly higher in that sense at TL. So No. I mean, the answer is just no. We don't see it as a threat or anything like that. I mean, actually, it ends up being a good source of traffic for us. So, yeah, and I mean, I think the Reddit community too is, you know, it's different than TL, right? You know, there's obviously some overlap with guys who are visiting TL and guys who are visiting Reddit, or one exclusively over the other. But I think like if you just like Reddit and you don't like TL, that's probably not something we're going to easily change or feel the pressure to change.
Yeah.
We've never advertised Team Liquid. We've never bought advertising space for the site on any other site, because we knew, like, if you just create a good product and you create things that people want to use, they'll just come back and we'll just use it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I think Reddit has the same model, right? Like if you have you know, a product where there's new content coming through all the time, then you want to keep coming back and seeing it. So yeah, I mean, I read Team Liquid and Reddit pretty much the same right now.
Yeah, same here.
What about like, I'm going to coin a term that's probably not totally accurate, but what, like, the Redditor conception of TL? Because it's without fail that occasionally you see those posts on Reddit where it's like calling TL mods overly zealous or too strict. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, I've been around long enough to see, like, there's always a certain segment of guys who we ban from the site, and they have to go somewhere else. And it used to be Ghost2 Gamers, and then it went to SE2GG, and these communities just had, like, you know, packs of these guys who just hated Team Liquid. And I mean, that's fine, right? Like, that's if you're banned from Team Liquid, you got to go somewhere, right, to get your fix. And I understand that totally. So, you know, they would go to Ghost2 Gamers, and then Ghost2 Gamers kind of died off a bit as far as StarCraft. And then they all went to SE2GG. And then I guess they kind of went to, there was maybe 3 or 4 StarCraft sites that popped up during beta where they all went. And then they kind of went to Reddit, and then some went to Wellplayed. And, you know, at the beginning of Wellplayed, when it started up, if you looked, like, there was, you know, 3 or 4 threads discussing why Wellplayed was way better moderators than Team Liquid. And then, you know, Wellplayed kind of died a bit, I guess, and they all went back to Reddit. So it's just kind of a cycle for us at this point. Like, we're not too concerned, right? One of the things I said, like, really early on, like, if you have vocal haters, I think that's a really good metric for how popular you are. And I've said that to pretty much every caster I know who have had issues with, you know, people shitting on them in public, like Total Biscuit. It's a lot of haters, but it's also because he has a ton of viewers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He's got so many people watching his content that, like, if you have, you know, 8 or 9% people just don't like you, that's, you know, that percentage is going to hold through, you know, as your viewership increases. So, you know, it's just part of the beast, right? Just part of the business.
What about TL's place, like, in the esports world beyond StarCraft 2? Like, I know TL has set up forums for, like, LoL and for Diablo and Dota and all that. But like you said, you've never actively, like, outwardly sought ad space or anything like that. Is that a portion of the esports community that you want to go after, or is TL just always going to be a StarCraft site first? And you know, if other people want to post about games they like here, then sure, but you're not going to try to pursue that.
Right. So I think this year is going to be really important for us determining that. And of League of Legends, and there was, you know, hundreds of people going, yeah, we need that, let's all create it. And there's a lot of League websites right now, and they don't have the same sort of moderatorship or format and stuff as Team Liquid, but we're actively looking at kind of what we want to do. We're looking at Dota, and we're looking at LoL. I don't think we would do Diablo 3, but we pull interest, right? We try and format the site in a way that, like, we'll have sports and games for all sports and games, and then, okay, well, World Cup rolls around, so we'll throw up a World Cup forum, right? And if for some reason we saw, like, we were getting like 3 million hits a day or something on the World Cup forum, like all year long, then we go, oh,
Yeah.
well, we should start doing World Cup coverage, right? That's not the case, but to give you an example. And so it's like we have a league forum and we have a Dota forum and we have some streams on the sidebar. And we look at that and we say, okay, well, a lot of StarCraft players are going and they're looking at some of these Dota guys playing, and they're looking at some of the Dota events, like when Toby1 does an event or something like that. When the next invitational comes around at PAX, we'll keep an eye on that and see, okay, well, this is like an iconic Dota event. Let's see how many StarCraft people are going to click through and check it out, and how long do they stick around on it. And those sorts of metrics give us a good idea of like what our users actually want. Because if you just put a poll up, like, do you want Team Liquid to start doing Dota coverage? Like, they'll be like, no, go fuck yourself, right?
Right.
But if you slowly, you spread your eggs a bit and you increase their coverage a little bit just to test, and then people will respond, then we get a good idea of, okay, well, we're not going to do front page coverage of, a big Dota tournament and do advertisements and the whole thing for it, but, over the next couple of years, we could get there if it was the case that that's what we thought we wanted.
Right.
So most of our decisions now on that sort of thing are kind of reactionary, rather than just, oh, we need more traffic, and Dota has a lot of traffic, or League of Legends has a ton of traffic right now. Throw up League of Legends news. It's like I said before, like, people are smart, and if they think that you're just doing it to try and make a buck or something, it's not a long-term solution. So yeah, we're trying to serve the interests of our community first.
So like it feels a little bit like the Team Liquid model is changing a little bit. I'm gonna use the word maturing a little bit, because I don't know, it might not even be the right word, but like there was very recently even a time when TL's like, this is our house, this is how things are going to get done. If you don't like it, then piss off. And that was just kind of the stance of moderators and stuff. And that has definitely become, it's less like that now. So like, what's that all about? What's with the move away from being Team Liquid, the fascist capital of esports?
Well, I think it's just kind of like you said, it's just kind of matured a lot. I mean, I've banned kids and written reasons where, 2 or 3 years ago, where I go and read it, I'm like, oh God, did you write that? You're such an asshole. or when RefRule was actively banning people just because he didn't like their username and stuff. Well, actually, that happened the other day with that USA StarCraft guy. So I think it's just kind of the nature of having so many more people on the site. Like a good example of it that we were talking about the other day was we have around 200 staff members on Team Liquid, and I remember when it was about 15 to 20 active. And at that point, we knew everybody, right? Everybody that was posting, I could recognize them all by name. And even when it got to a stage where I didn't recognize every poster, I still knew every staff. And now we're at a point where like new writers get added, or new graphics guys or Liquipedia guys get added, where I see they have 4,000 posts, and I'm like, shit, I don't know who that guy is, right? And now they're on staff. So what I realize is like we have to be super confident in the policies that we're creating and for our staff and for the community, because when Ken or I are gone or Victor's gone, like that has to keep itself going, and it has to keep itself going right now when none of us are there to look. And I think that's what you're seeing. Some of that is I can't just tell the mods like, if you don't like the kid, just ban him. Well, yeah, okay, that works, but it's kind of situational, right? Usually we know that poster is kind of a dick. If we just had that policy for all moderators, we'd quickly run into problems. So I think that's why you're kind of seeing some of that the changes in the way moderatorship goes. I mean, even right now, we kind of have like a loose policy on like, if you're a newish moderator and you see Idra or In Control or something being a dick, don't deal with it. Leave it for.
Yeah, but Idra's been banned more than anybody.
I mean, I thought leave that up to our newer mods, because that's a tricky situation for us, right? So it's something that Ken would deal with, or I would deal with, or if Jeff, or even Total Big. I think when he got banned the other day, we were like, okay, so the newer guys have been modded. We just leave that one alone and watch how we go through this process, because we discuss a lot. We'll have a thread like, yo, Total Biscuit's being a douche right now. Are we gonna, we have to kind of set a standard for the rest of the community, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
I got banned once from TO.
Oh yeah, I got warned.
I've still never been banned or warned.
There was a thread about like some girl posted a thread talking about how she was a girl gamer, and she was being all self-righteous, and I responded with, "This thread needs more boobs," and I got banned instantly.
Oh God!
I was like, come on! I didn't think that was that bad.
Of course you didn't think it was that bad.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay, there we go. John.
John.
Hey, John. Welcome.
Talking about bans, I'm working on it, by the way. I want to get banned from TL at least once.
You're not somebody until you've gotten banned from TL, right?
Oh, shit, man. I see a lot of stupid stuff on there.
Oh.
And that's, how do you guys moderate your moderators?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So we're really selective about who we moderate, or who we give mod status to, and usually it's any of the guys with red names will have a discussion at our admin level of, do we think guys cut out for it, and even in our staff forums when we're saying, okay, I think it's time that we add a few more ban links just based on the nature of the community. It's just something. Is this person good, and we'll nominate people in that. And usually with that system, we can pull people who are pretty level-headed, or who are open-minded or willing to learn our process and that. Now and again, we'll have to correct, or if we see a ban or a ban message that wasn't really good. I think we had one this weekend actually where I'm trying to remember. Like the ban was good, right? But the justification of it wasn't, and it actually sends a bad message out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we gotta go and tell this guy, hey, here's why. Like the reasoning behind the warning was good, but when you tell the guy this, it doesn't really correct him, right? So make sure you're doing this, blah blah blah. So all that stuff just kind of happens naturally and internally. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty active about it, and the nice thing about Team Liquid is that there's so many moderators and staff reading all the time that if you see something sketchy happen, we're pretty good about noticing it and being able to correct it.
How many mods do you think, how many mods are there currently in?
I think about 60.
Okay.
Is the number? I think it's about 60.
Right. Okay. Great. Brent, I mean, if you have anything, I didn't mean for like when we're talking to one of you guys for the other just to sit and hang out, but if you had anything, just chime in, man.
Okay, cool.
Anytime.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else, Ben? You got?
Oh no, just Kennigit's awesome. He's like one of the best guys to know in esports, and everybody should love him and have mad respect for him.
Definitely. All right, well, we're trying to get John set up here, guys. Sorry about the overlays, because I'm just, every time John hops in and hops out, our cameras get all messed up, so that's kind of the reason for it. I think he's almost set up here. John, you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
You're really soft.
Okay, let me try to fix that.
All right.
Every time I go to try to fix something.
Yeah, I can't hear you anymore. Very, very faintly. Oh, it seems like my volume's a little too loud too.
Did you play Mafia at this MLG, Ken?
You know what? I never play Mafia, actually.
Never.
I haven't either. Like I was talking to Sheth about it, and he was like, "You got to play, you got to play." And I was like, "Okay, I'll play it this one," but I didn't do it here either.
It's one of those. Oh, sorry, I'm getting feedback. Sorry. Yeah, I just it's just kind of not my thing. I mean, I'd rather go to the bar, to be honest. I'd rather go to a party or to the bar or something, but yeah.
Yeah, that's. I don't know, like, so Mafia is. I mean, I haven't ever played Mafia either. So, what is Mafia exactly for viewers?
It's a game.
Is it the winking game?
It's kind of
it's
like
just like you get a bunch of people together,
Right.
and there's like a couple people are Mafia, a couple people are
okay.
FBI, and the
That's
rest
what I
are
thought.
civilians.
Got it.
And then it's just like he said, she said, kind of thing until there's only Mafia or only
Right.
non-Mafia left.
Pro gamers are such good liars, man.
It's a big thing, man. A lot of people do it. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, all right, Brent. Since you've been so quiet, why don't we jump into some of your topics? I don't want you to be just kind of chilling the whole time. So yeah, so Brent, for you guys that don't know him, Brent Ruiz, he is the founder and president of ESFI, ESFIworld.com. Why don't you tell us a little bit about ESFI, Brent? And I guess and one of the things maybe you should add too is how it's different than something like TL.net.
Yeah, sure. So ESFI is an impartial, unbiased, independent media organization covering esports. I guess the immediate difference from TL is that, well, we're not a team, obviously. Like, so many years ago, like the entire lifespan of esports, you saw sites like SK Gaming, for example, and other team sites, try and cover just general esports news and coverage while not really focusing on their own team. And that was actually needed just because when you're trying to build an industry like this, you need like other people to step up, even if that's not exactly what they're focusing on. And SK Gaming was a really good site that did that during most of this past decade. So ESFI kind of got its start after got bought out by MLG in 2006. I started conceptualizing in 2007 just because there was like officially this big void of like an impartial esports site, especially in North America. So that's how that kind of got started. I started up with ideas and talking to other people, trying to get a team together. We had a bunch of really bad luck with developers and programming and that whole thing, which everyone who's probably tried to build a site at this scale will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a really big hassle, and you have to be actually really lucky to find a good developer and get them to actually finish something. So we actually finally finished the site, and we launched in December of 2010. So we're only about like a year and a half old now. So still relatively new. We've grown a lot in the past, especially in the past 6 months. More and more people are knowing ESFI. They recognize the name when you tell them about it, especially in the StarCraft scene. We're covering more than just StarCraft, though. We also cover other games that are making a big splash on the esports scene, like Dota 2 and League of Legends, obviously. And we're also hoping and crossing our fingers to see what happens with CS:GO, Counter-Strike Go, and hopefully that works out, because we want to cover Counter-Strike again. And of course, we're always looking at the new games that are coming up that have a potential for esports play, like, for example, Shoot Mania. But that's always a longer process than we all like it to be, and we need to see if those games are going to work out. But so I think at this point, it's all about developer support and what they want their games to do in the esports scene, and they have to push it. They have to propel that. It's like League of Legends with the right games in. So as a company, we're pretty it's a really straightforward run company. It's all volunteer basis. We have about nearly 50 people on staff, spread across the world. We don't really focus on a certain region. We do international scale coverage. So we don't just focus on North America, for example. We do everything. So yeah.
You know, the fact that you mentioned that, you know, I guess all of your staff is volunteer based. Is that correct?
Yeah, everyone, including myself, is on volunteer basis. Just like, I mean, if you've been in this industry, like for, I don't know, like myself, I got it started in 2001. After I stopped playing, I started playing Warcraft 3 and I started writing coverage for a small site, which probably all the Quake players might know. The old school Quake players might know. Cash.net. It was a North American site. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, everything is volunteer basis. So I think if you're trying to break into this industry, like I'm sure all you guys have heard, you got to put your time in. You got to put in your sweat equity and volunteer and work your way up like that.
You know, because majority of your staff is volunteers, and I know this is prevalent in esports, and a lot of the community is great in the fact that they do volunteer, they do a lot of great work. So a lot of these like events and things wouldn't happen without volunteers. The one question I always have for folks is, do you ever run into the issue with reliability? Because they're not being paid, right? So when it comes to like deadlines, say for an article, for instance, like one of your writers, or maybe somebody who's producing video for you. I mean, like how often does that happen? I mean, like are you kind of getting left in the dust? A lot of times because, again, you're not paying these people.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and definitely an interesting topic. With volunteer basis, it's all about, like, macro managing never really works at all. You have to really micromanage every individual person, just because you need to kind of track and guide them. A lot of these volunteers, they need guidance and they work well off that. So. That's what I try to do, and that's what our other managerial people try to do. In terms of like them not producing what they say they're going to produce, honestly, it's never really been a problem. It's just a matter of them being very communicative about, for example, if they have like a school final coming up and they're going to be away for the next week, for example. Something like that really helps us as a staff just to kind of fill in the holes where we need them to be filled. Like if someone's working on an article that they need to give to somebody else, so we can actually get it out in time. That's all it is. It's really, I just keep it simple, very simple, straightforward. And volunteers, I haven't really had any bad experiences in my year and a half of doing it with ES5. I've heard of stories where it's gotten pretty bad, and but not anything in my ES5. So. Right.
James, I mean, is that the issue at TL too? I mean, there are a lot of how much of your staff is volunteer?
We have five or six full timers, and then maybe between 8 and 10 part timers. So yeah, it's always been volunteer. Only recently has it become. Has Team Liquid gotten to a stage where we, created a company out of it.